Your car declines. Not for something reckless. Not for a luxury. For groceries. And in that half second, your brain does the fastest math on earth. Do I move money from rent to food and figure out later? Because that's what living paycheck to paycheck really feels like. Normal life turns into constant trade-offs. You're always choosing which problem you want next. Groceries today or rent stress later. Food now or an overdraft fee tomorrow. And here's the part nobody says out loud. No matter what you choose, you lose something. But there's a catch. This isn't a motivation problem. It's an order problem. And when the order is wrong, you can budget all you want. You still get cornered by timing. Give me a few minutes, and I'll show you why $10,000 changes your life. Not because it's rich. Not because it makes you special. But because it stops normal life from forcing you into expensive decisions. And I'm also going to show you the quiet way people finally reach $10,000, feel relief, and then watch it slowly leak away without a single big disaster. Let's name what just happened at that checkout. You weren't choosing between cereal brands. You were choosing which future problem to delay. And when every decision is a next problem decision, you don't move forward. You just rotate stress. That's why I'm talking about $10,000. Because for a lot of people, there's a point where your brain finally stops running emergency drills all day. Not forever. Not magically. Just enough to change how you behave. This video isn't about saving $10,000. It's about buying options. And before we go any further, let me tell you the quiet leak up front so you don't miss it. Most people don't lose their first $10,000 to one disaster. They lose it to 100 small yes that feel harmless. The upgrade, the extra subscriptions, the delivery habit, it's only $19 more, the 0% financing, the we deserve it. That's the leak. Boring, quiet, brutal. We'll come back to how to stop it. But first, you need to understand what $10,000 actually does and what it doesn't. $10,000 is not a lifestyle. It's a shock absorber. When your balance lives near zero, every surprise becomes a decision crisis. A flat tire isn't just a flat tire. It's do I miss work or swipe and hope? A medical bill isn't just a bill. It's do I pay this or float the electric bill and pray nothing else breaks? A weird week at work isn't just stressful. It's if I lose this job, I'm in real trouble. That's the mental reel that plays in the background. And if you've lived there long enough, you start thinking that level of stress is just adulthood. But it's not adulthood. It's fragility. And fragility is expensive. Let me show you what I mean. Picture two lives. Life A. Your account balance is sitting around $200. Your car needs a $600 repair. You don't just fix the car. You negotiate with time. You delay. You ask if they can patch it. You drive it longer than you should. You start juggling bills. And if you can't make it work, you finance it. And that's the part people don't say out loud. Without a buffer, you don't just pay for the problem. You pay for the financing of the problem. Now life B. Same car. Same repair. But you have a buffer. You're still annoyed. You don't enjoy spending the money, but your body reacts differently. You're irritated, not scared. That difference is the beginning of everything. Because once there's space between you and panic, you start thinking in weeks and months instead of hours. You can pause. You can shop around. You can fix something early instead of late. You can say no without instantly fearing what comes next. Some of you are thinking, $10,000 isn't invincibility. One serious thing happens, and it's gone. That's true, and that's why 10,000 isn't the real finish line. It's just a useful headline. The real number is months of essentials. Essentials mean housing, food, utilities, transportation, minimum debt payments, basic insurance. Not your dream month, not your worst month, just the baseline month where life keeps moving. So take the headline and translate it. If your essentials are $2,500 a month, 10,000 buys you about 4 months. If your essentials are 4,000, 10,000 buys you closer to 2.5. Same 10,000. Completely different oxygen tank. That's why I hate when emergency funds are talked about like everyone lives the same life. Your goal isn't to match someone else's screenshot. Your goal is to buy time. Time is what turns panic into a plan. Now here's where people mess up. Even the ones doing everything right. They finally build a buffer, and they put it somewhere that doesn't work as a buffer. You think saving 10,000 means you're safe. But there's a catch. It only protects you if it's usable. Usable means you can reach it quickly without penalties, delays, or I'll sell investments later logic. This isn't wealth. It's a fire extinguisher. You don't lock a fire extinguisher in a storage unit across town because it's better long-term returns. But there's a second trap too. If your emergency money sits right next to your daily spending, it slowly turns into a temptation jar. So where should it live? In its own lane. You need 2 lanes. Lane 1 is daily life. Paychecks land. Bills autopay. Groceries happen. Normal chaos. Lane 2 is your buffer. Money with one job. Be there when life gets weird. And that buffer lane should be slightly annoying to touch. Not impossible. Not buried under paperwork. Slightly annoying. Because convenience is the enemy of emergency money. Keeping your buffer where you swipe feels easy. But ease is exactly how it disappears without permission. Now we have to talk about the brain. Because the biggest shift after you build a buffer isn't math. It's the brain tax disappearing. When you're living near zero, your mind is scanning for danger all day. You check your bank app constantly. You flinch when unknown numbers call. You brace for auto-pays like jump scares. You do grocery math in real time. That background fear is exhausting. And when you're exhausted, you don't make strategic decisions. You make relief decisions. Which brings us back to the quiet leak. A bigger balance creates relief. Your shoulders drop. Your breathing slows. And your brain says, we deserve to relax. So you start saying yes. Not to something outrageous. To normal stuff. Slight upgrades. Delivery because you're tired. A nicer grocery run. A few subscriptions. Financing because the payment looks small. Relief spending doesn't feel like spending. It feels like exhaling. That's why it works. And that's why so many people build a buffer and then slowly watch it drain back to 2,000 or 3,000, wondering what went wrong. Nothing went wrong. You're human. The fix isn't shame. It's structure. Now let's talk about the system that makes this worse. Everyone loves to say, just be responsible. Responsibility matters. But there's a catch. The fee and interest machine makes more money when you're fragile. Overdraft fees are the clearest example. Your timing is off. Bills hit before money hits. Your account dips negative. You get clipped for $30 or $35. That's not a mistake. That's a business model. Credit cards do the same, slower. If you're carrying a balance with a high interest rate, you're paying every month just to stand still. Buy now, pay later just makes it friendlier. Payments stack. Dates get missed. Late fees happen. None of this requires you to be irresponsible. It only requires you to be one surprise away from borrowing. So when I talk about building a buffer, I'm not selling a milestone. I'm talking about freedom from expensive choices. Now, let's make this practical without turning it into hero mode. You don't start by being perfect. You start by separating the lanes. Even a small buffer changes behavior because your daily spending no longer has access to your safety net by default. Then you automate it. Not reminders. Not motivation. Automatic transfers. Because motivation is unreliable. Rules are reliable. If 200 a month feels impossible, don't start there. Start with 25. Start with 50. Start with whatever doesn't blow up your week. The amount matters less than the identity shift. You become someone who keeps a buffer. Once that identity exists, increasing the number later stops feeling impossible. Here's the move that separates people who keep buffers from people who don't. Every time money frees up, a raise, a side gig, a bill ending, you raise the automatic transfer before you raise your lifestyle. Not forever. Just until the buffer becomes real. Now, let's address the argument that always shows up. Should I save first or pay off debt first? High interest debt is a leak. Zero savings is a crisis. Extreme approaches punish normal humans. All debt, no savings leaves you one emergency away from swiping again. All savings, Ignoring high interest lets the leak keep draining you. The middle path works better. Build a starter buffer that stops constant borrowing. Then attack the worst interest. Then grow the buffer toward months of essentials. That's the order. Cash is an investment. It's insurance. You don't cancel insurance because it didn't beat the market. When you have a buffer, something subtle happens. Your confidence gets quieter. You negotiate differently. You ask one more question. You don't take the first bad deal because you need money by Friday. You can handle a job gap without instantly panicking. You can be selective. Even a little time changes outcomes. But I need to protect you from the moment after you hit 10,000. Because once you have options, temptation shows up wearing opportunity clothes. A buffer isn't a casino stack. It's not your prove I'm smart fund. It's your I'm not cornered fund. The way you keep it is boring on purpose. The buffer is a tool, not a trophy. Define emergencies before you're emotional. Set a floor. Rebuild what you use. Keep it separate from daily life. Using your buffer for an actual emergency isn't failure. That's the plan working. The real failure is having no plan and paying fees and interest because you had no other choice. Your job isn't to never touch the buffer. Your job is to not stay fragile once you do. Progress beats perfection. Every time.